bit here. Welcome to another Sunday morning Eurorack Patch Lab. This is going to be a super casual hangout today. We're just going to see what I've got in the system right now, and then in a few minutes, we're going to attempt to pull all of these cables and patch something from scratch today. If you're catching this on the replay, thanks for joining me. The first thing that I'm going to do today is try to find this stream on my channel so that I can chat if anyone tunes in for the stream. Let's go ahead and check out what I've got in the system currently. Hey Wall, hey Tony, hey Sky Tortoise Ferryman, alright. Can you guys hear the music okay? Can you guys hear my voice over the music okay? Does my voice or the music need to come up or down? Just leave me a note in the chat. I really like this groove we've got going already this morning, yeah. Got some fun, funky, kind of reggae, chillin' vibes happening here. Sounds good. Thanks, Tony. Talk about the individual pieces that are making up this groove, shall we? I've got it set up so that I can turn all of the tracks on and off in real time in this groove, except for these two tracks in the background that are making up an interesting, oh, there's my crash symbol coming through again, except for these tracks that are making kind of an interesting texture wash here in the background. I'm using the Qubit chord module and also the Mutable Instruments plates or Plats module in chords mode, so that we're getting two different sort of chord pad textures that are sort of washing in and out of each other. I'm using a VCA from Erica Synths and some LFOs routed into that VCA so that we're moving the volume of both of these sounds in and out at different times, kind of giving us a sort of a random feeling and a live feeling texture. We can bring in some noise percussion type hi-hat sounds over this, which is very subtle, and it sort of filters in and out in the background. You guys know I love that ride cymbal, and here's that ride cymbal to get that high frequency texture. I'm using the Mazatron Wavemorph VC DCO oscillator to kind of give a little bit of melodic thickening, rather, to these textures that are washing in and out. but this timbre is just kind of a static timbre to help keep the texture a little bit more consistent sounding. Doing some really gentle modulation on one of the wave shaping points, so we get a little bit of movement in the timbre of this sound. Hey Jeremy, hey Gaz. Let's check out this kick drum. Kind of a really big, thick, dirty kick drum to push through the whole mix here and, you know, create that rhythm for us. Got a clap sound over the top here. I don't know if you can hear that bass, low bass I just brought in. If you can't hear that, put your headphones on. We've got kind of a low, subby bass tone now, rounding out the low frequencies, and sort of playing off of the kick drum to give a little bit more groove and rhythm. You can hear the wave morph oscillator morphing just a little bit in the background. And what really starts to bring this groove together is the offbeat reggae style chord stab that I'm adding using the qubit chord module. Check this out. On the offbeats, and then we get this really interesting sort of play on the rhythm. Got a couple more percussion tracks that I can bring in. This is just a closed hi-hat, but on the open hi-hat sort of vibe, you know, rhythm, groove, to sort of accent that upbeat that we're getting with the chord stab. Got an extra snare here to kind of accent those offbeat rhythms. I like this kind of a groove a lot because even though the kick drum pattern is a 4 on the floor pattern, with all these emphasis on the upbeats, you really don't get the same feeling that you typically get with a driving 4 on the floor pattern. You get more of this emphasis on the up. Love this vibe. Over the top of this, I've taken a sound from the Virus Dark Star and I've sequenced that in. I'm using the Digitact as my main sequencer for this system. And I've also got the Digitact MIDI routed up to the Dark Star so that I can create patterns in the Dark Star and add those into the system. I'm routing the volume of the Dark Star into the system using a Strymon AA1 module, which allows us to route audio out of the system or into the system as needed. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on this lead sound. Lastly, over the top of this, I've got that impact sound that I like to use so well, that triggers on the downbeat of every 8 bars and helps us stay on the grid. 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3. We're gonna count it 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, and we turn it around. 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8. We're on the grid. Here comes the crash. So it creates this sort of cycle that gives us something to jam to and a kind of a cue to know when to turn tracks on and off. 6, 2, 3, 7, and 8, 2, 3. Break it down. Hey, what's happening, Nils? What's happening, Ed? What's happening, Jeremy? What's happening, Sean? Thanks for joining me, everyone. Going to be a super casual session today. A few minutes before the stream, I think I pulled a muscle in my neck, so I'm a little bit off, I think. But we're going to see if we can't see it through today. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to attempt to patch. If anybody has any preferences, maybe drop me a note in the chat and we'll see what we can do. Come on. Funk. I like some fast funk. Cowboy bebop. It might happen one of these weeks. Maybe I'll have to prepare a session for that, Jeremy. Hear all that emphasis on the upbeat. I really like the way that these type of groove, for lack of a better word. Yeah, very chill, right? Needs more delay. Yeah, never enough reverb and delay. Crazy with the noise engineering, Desmodus Versio reverb. And we could add, if I turn up the regen amount of the reverb just enough, it starts to actually create its own texture. I don't know if you can hear that in the background now. That high level of texture we're getting now in the background, that's the reverb from the Desmodus Versio, and I can affect that with the tone knob to sort of shape that reverb. Can really darken it up and bring it way down. Now we can brighten it up again. This is actually a trick that I like to use a lot. It's the tone knob that I'm messing with on the reverb. And if you send an LFO to the CV input, and you get like an LFO moving this tone super slowly in real time, fantastic way to sort of ebb and flow with the timbre of the reverb. I think what we're going to do is go ahead and attempt to pull all of these cables and patch something up from scratch today. I think what we'll do in the meantime, while I'm pulling all of these cables, is go ahead and check out a live jam from my channel so it doesn't get super boring. See if we can get some audio coming through on this guy while I begin to pull all of these cables. Thanks for joining me, everyone. I think this will be a fun one today. I hope you can hear that volume on the live jam. And I'm just going to go ahead and attempt to start pulling all of these cables. And we'll patch something up from scratch today. Sort of an acid breaks jam that I did, I don't know, maybe about a year ago. I don't know if any of you are Jane's Addiction fans, but that's where I got the idea for the vocal sample. I want to say maybe like 1991, Jane's Addiction had a track called Stop. And I always thought that was a great lyric from Perry Farrell. He says, "The world is loaded, it's lit to pop, and nobody ain't gonna stop." Might not think I'm a Jane's Addiction fan from back in the day, but I like a lot of other music besides just electronic music. Yeah, nobody young knows about them anymore. I'm here to rock the way I'm gonna stop. I'm lit to pop the way I'm gonna stop. Thanks for your patience, everyone, as we get prepared to start patching something up. Try to be super careful when I'm pulling all of these cables because we don't want to damage any of the cables or the modules. I'm here to rock the way I'm gonna stop. I'm lit to pop the way I'm gonna stop. I'm here to rock the way I'm gonna stop. Yeah, lit to pop the way I'm gonna stop. We are getting close. Try to get the cases back to somewhat of a zero state here. Car down. I'm here to rock. that's pretty good timing. I think we are actually ready to go. Cool deal. See if we can't get Ableton back open again. What I like to do is I like to have a little bit of a visual representation, especially when I'm working on the headphones. So I'm running an out from my mixer into my desktop here, where in Ableton I've got the FabFilter Pro Q EQ plugin loaded so that I can get a visual on the sounds, and that I've got the Isotope Tonal Balance Control plugin so that I can get a visual on the sounds and make sure we're not pushing too much high frequency content or maybe too much low frequency content that I'm not aware of because I'm on the headphones. Okay, I think the first thing we'll do today, we're going to be using the Digitact for sure as the main sequencer that's going to be feeding clock and a master reset signal into the system. That's going to allow us to get all of the sequencers working in time with each other and knowing when the downbeat is. Let's go ahead and get that set up. I've currently already got the reset signal. I've left that patched. I've got a reset signal patched into a multiple so that I can use the multiple to send that reset signal out to as many different sequencers in the system as we will need to. So let's go ahead and start doing just that. Let's start getting a Mazatron Golden Shower sequencer running so that I have a visual on our tempo. So I'll route our master clock into a multiple so that I can now route that clock out to whatever modules in the system will need clock. So any sequencers. And right off the jump, when I patch the clock into the sequencer, it starts going, which gives me a visual representation of the clock. I can verify that when I press play on the Digitact that it resets the sequencer, so I know that our reset signal is in place as well, so that I can get all of the modules knowing when the downbeat is. Let's go ahead and send that master clock over to the other side of the system so that I can kind of patch it into these modules as necessary. And I think what we'll do is go ahead and get the Mazatron clock divider going at our tempo so that we can get that patched up. This might be a great moment to grab yourself a cup of coffee if you plan on hanging around for the patching, because it's going to be just a few moments before we actually get some sound going. I'm trying to figure out what we should actually do first today. I think I'll go ahead and create something that we can use as a metronome so that I can hear our rhythm now that I can see it. So I'm just going to patch a clock into kind of a noise sound, and then we'll turn that up and see if we've got some audio happening. Cool deal. Okay. How's everybody doing today? Thanks for joining up. Thanks for today. 24 people in the chat at the start of the patching. All right, everyone. What should we patch today? I've got it connected today so that we can use sounds from the Digitact and we can use sounds from the Darkstar in the system today as well. And I'm trying to decide whether I want to start with like a kick drum maybe and build like a 4 on the floor type of groove, or maybe a broken beat type of groove. I believe we did broken beat last week, and maybe we should do like a big 4 on the floor groove today then. Let's see if maybe we can get that set up. If we can just find a kick drum that we'd like to work with. I have a sample card loaded into a Tip Top Audio 1 sample module, and it's just got a whole bunch of kick drums on it. And we can kind of listen to these kick drums, maybe set a tempo, and see if any of these kick drums jump out at us as something we'd like to work with. Oh, it's pretty loud getting started there. We'll get the volumes adjusted as I get a few more instruments in the mix as well. What should we do for a tempo today? Because this is something we can kind of get going right off the jump. Maybe we do something faster today. Maybe like a 132 BPM start. What do you think? I almost just kind of like that kick right there. But I typically like to scroll through some of the samples. I mean, I've got probably over 100 kick drums on this card. It seems just silly to go with the first one. But then again, it sounds really nice. I think that one sounds pretty nice too. There, we've scrolled for a kick drum. Fantastic. Let's see if we can't work with that today. And let's see here. Instead of having these hi-hats play on every 8th note, let's sort of have this noise hat play on an open hat, like on the offbeat. And how we can achieve that is I can take an output from my Mazzatron clock divider. I can take a divided by 4 output, and I can run that into the Mazzatron quad gate inverter. And what this is going to do is it's going to take that signal, and it's literally going to invert it so that it triggers when the clock pulse turns off. I hope I said that right, but you'll hear exactly what I'm saying, in that it's going to trigger on the off beat instead of every beat here. And let me go in and change the decay. Let me get this little, what am I doing wrong here? It's not inverting it. Maybe because I need that reset signal. Let's try that first. Let's send a reset signal into the clock divider. There we go. Hey, fantastic. I bet you were sweating me for a minute there, Sean, thinking I was going to mess it up again today, but I didn't. Clock divider needs a reset signal. Everything needs a reset signal. So fantastic. Here we've got the noise sort of playing on the off beats now, and I can adjust the pitch of that if we want. We can make it longer, really long, you know. I'm using the Blue Lantern modules version of the Mutable Instruments Braids module, and this is just kind of like a noise algorithm. Okay. Boy, that kick is thumping. Let me know if that's too loud at home. The mixer level looks okay, but that kick is pretty loud. So let me know if it's too loud. Even live should have a reset button. I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that a lot. All right, so we're currently working at 132 beats per minute. And the Digitact isn't sequencing anything yet. So we've got this available as a sequencer. We've got the Dark Star, which we might be able to get into the mix as well today. And what let's do is let's create sort of a 16th notes hi-hat, so we've got more of a rhythm playing in the background. And actually, maybe we'll control the hi-hats with the Mazzatron Golden Shower sequencer so that we can adjust those if we want to. Maybe later not have it playing a 16th note pattern. I'm going to go ahead and patch this sequencer into another sample module that's housing a whole bunch of hi-hat samples, and we'll see if we can find another hi-hat sample that sounds cool here. Let's go ahead and route this through the mixer. Cool. And maybe one of these to get it in. Oh, that kick is thumping. I hope you guys who's listening on a phone, I hope your phone's not exploding. Let me know if it is. I can try to adjust some things. Okay, but we just want to hear this back. And I'd like to maybe, route this into its certain mixer here. Cool. Bring this up. And then we just need to route this mixer in. Cool. left to left, and right to right. Cool. Push that through. Fantastic. What am I doing wrong here? Gate in. Whoops. Out. So this is supposed to come from the. Come on. Let me just get a little bit of a longer cable on that guy. Cool. Alright. So now what we can do is I've got a whole bunch of hi-hat samples on this card. We can just maybe scroll through a few. Okay, that one's cool. There, we scrolled through a sample. That one will work just fine. Love it when a plan comes together. So currently we've got this 4 on the floor kick, a little bit of a double time hi-hat, and then a little bit of an open hi-hat groove that we're getting from a noise sound over here. Cool, alright. Let's see, what should we do next? Let's go ahead and see if we can't start creating a bass line to go with this groove, shall we? See if there's any comments I need to address. Sounds great on the headphones. Hey, thanks, Kenny. I appreciate that. Hey, Russ. Hey, Martin. I appreciate everyone tuning in. We got 28 people in the chat. Fantastic. Okay, let's see about creating a bass line. I turned the volume down so I don't have to yell so much over the beat here. What let's go ahead and do is get the Mimetic Digitalis into the mix, shall we? This is a sequencer from Noise Engineering that allows us to create melodic content and CV modulation content randomly, which is really, really fun. We can also get in and take the time to set specific notes and all that kind of stuff, but for the live stream, it's going to be the power of random today. What we're going to do is we're going to need to first get this module knowing when, you know, the downbeat is and knowing what our tempo is. So I'm going to go ahead and route a signal from our master clock into the Mimetic Digitalis, and we're going to run a reset signal in, get a longer one, and we'll run our reset signal into the Mimetic Digitalis. And now, when I go ahead and stop and start our sequencer, all of the modules know when that downbeat is and can stay in sync with each other. We're going to take the first CV output from the Mimetic, and we're going to run that into an attenuator. The Mimetic Digitalis spits out like an 8-octave range of random CV information by default, and we're going to use an attenuator so that we can adjust the range of these notes that it is spitting out, and that we can conform them to a scale using a quantizer module, which I'm now routing it into. Get this trigger here. Cool. Let me go ahead and quickly tune the Platts module here, and we're going to try to get an FM bass line out of the Platts module today, I think. And let's see here. Just want to tune this to a C, and I think we're going to want to get a lower C since we're trying to create a bass here. So bear with me while I try to get this module in tune. Unfortunately, there is no fine-tune knob on the Platts module, so sometimes it can take a little bit of finesse to get its coarse tuning to be where you want it to be. But I think we're good here. And what we'll do, just go ahead and route our CV input in here, and we're going to go ahead and need a pretty long cable today to get from, here, let's take one of these, to get from the output of the Platts module into the mixer so that we can actually hear what we're doing. Cool. Whoops. Okay, you'll hear right off the jump that we're getting quite of a range of sounds. Everything from high notes to really subby low notes. I hope that's not too loud. And what we're going to do is go ahead and go ahead and use this attenuator so that we can control the range of these notes, the octave range that it's spitting out. Just messing with the quantizer for a second here. Fantastic. Now what we can do just trying to kind of mess with the module here. Try to find sort of a bass timbre that's working as a default setting. Kind of like the way that that is sounding and grooving, actually. Can you guys hear that bass cutting through there? And does it sound okay? That bass, I think, is really nice. What we're going to go ahead and do is save this into the first slot on the Mimetic Digitalis. It allows you to create up to 8 different CV output configurations, for lack of a better word, and then save those into these slots so you can recall those in real time. Kind of like changing patterns on something like a Digitact. I like that. Let's go ahead and get a ride cymbal into the mix so that we've got sort of a high frequency content rhythmic element in the background. And what let's do here is I think I've got a ride cymbal on this sample module here. Let's find out. Yeah, we've got, as a sample maker, it's pretty obvious that I'm going to have samples as a pretty big part of my workflow in Eurorack. This is one of the reasons why I'm really liking using the Digitact in combination with the Eurorack, because we can get samples and sounds out of the Digitact and sequence those with the rest of the system. Let's see here. I think we'll go ahead and create this ride with another Mazatron Golden Shower. That way we can adjust the rhythm later if we so desire. For instance, those double time hi-hats are being controlled with a sequencer here. And at any time, I can change the pattern on those hi-hats and make it not so dramatic. We can change the rhythm. So let's do that same thing with the ride cymbal. Make it so we can control the rhythm of that sort of in real time. I'll just set an arbitrary sequence here, and we'll go ahead and feed in a reset signal to this sequencer. Then we'll need to stop and start the clock so that all of our sequencers are in time with each other. Oops. Cool. Go ahead and scroll through a few different samples and see if we can find a ride cymbal that maybe suits our fancy here. This is also in sound selection when I'm doing it. This is another reason why I really like to have the visual aids in the background. For instance, if there's like a spiky frequency in the ride cymbal that pushes our high frequency content like way off the charts, I'll just scroll to a different sample rather than trying to fix the frequency content of that sample, if that makes any sense. That might be the one. I think that might be the one. Let's go ahead and see if we can mess with the pitch of this ride cymbal and see if adjustments on that will help it seat into the mix a little better at all. It's really close to perfect, but it's just not quite perfect. Let's keep scrolling. I don't have to tell you that sound selection is really an important part of making music, and it definitely is beneficial to take the time to finding the sounds you like right at the beginning, instead of maybe working with something that's a little, just take that extra step in the beginning to get yourself a solid foundation to work with. That's better, I think. There we go. Let's get that in the mix. How's that sound? I like the way that one sounds. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and see what key that we're writing in, shall we? I've got another plugin here called Mixed in Key. Actually, to make this happen, I'll need to mute some tracks. So let's go ahead and set it up so that we can do just that. Let's set it up so we can mute this kick drum, for instance, by taking a few extra connections here and routing this into the DivKit Mutes module. I have 2 of these, and basically they're just a set of 4 switches that allow you to turn your tracks on and off in real time. So let's get it so that we can mute everything that we need to turn off, except for maybe the bass line, right? So we'll take this ride. We're going to route this a little bit differently. Actually, that's too long. Yeah, that'll do it. Cool. So I'm going to route the ride cymbal into another switch on the DivKit Mutes module. And then we'll take the output from that one. Actually, I don't need a long one there either. And we'll route this one back into the mixer. Cool. Now I can turn that on and off as well. So we've still got our sort of open hat sound, and that's coming from, yeah, the noise. Okay, cool. So we'll make it so we can turn this on and off. And now we've just got it, our bass line in the background only there, which will help me figure out what key we're writing in and get the rest of the content that we're about to add, hopefully in that same key. And this is that ride. Cool. Bass line just banging away in the background. Wait, what am I doing wrong here? Right, it's the hat, rather. So it's this one here. Am I getting that right? Sometimes I get a little bit confused when there's so many wires going, you know what I mean? Yeah, it definitely is that way. Okay, fantastic. So here we are down to just the bass line. And if I've got our plugin open up here called Mixed in Key, and I'm routing audio into it, I can see what key it thinks that we are writing in, and I can attempt to match the rest of the content to that key today. It currently thinks that we're in the key of C sharp minor, so that is what we are going to attempt to write the rest of the content in today. And let's see if we can verify that. I had a great comment from Redneck Samurai a few weeks ago who was like, dude, just put a keyboard next to the setup. Then you've got, you know, a reference for a C note when you need a reference for a C note. Yeah, right? So we've got the Dark Star over here so we can do just that. I'm routing the output of that into the system using a Strymon AA1 module. And all we need to do is basically just connect the Strymon AA1 module up to my mixer so that we can actually hear it, what's coming in, and then we'll be able to hear what I play on the Dark Star, and we can verify that we're in the key of C sharp minor. So I believe it's this one here. Left and right. So this allows us to hear the Dark Star now in the system. Fantastic. Yeah, we're definitely in C sharp. Okay, fantastic. So I should be able to go ahead and turn our other tracks back on. And now we're in the key of C sharp minor. So if I want to add more content, I want to tune the rest of the content to that key. So let's see if we can add a melodic chord element from the Qubits chord module to this groove we've started. Okay, what we'll need to do is just tune that module to make sure that we're putting out the right chord for the key that we're in, which is C sharp minor. So I'll take a root note output from that module and run it into the tuner. And we'll just go ahead and tune that to a C sharp. I think maybe a C sharp 3 to start with, we'll try. Maybe a C sharp 4 actually. We might want a higher frequency content on this one. So luckily the Qubit chord module has a coarse tuning and a fine tuning knob. So it's a lot easier for me to just get right where I need it to be. So we've got this tuned to a C sharp 4. I've got it set to play a minor chord. Fantastic. We'll go ahead and just take an output from that. And we're going to run that into our mixer so we can hear what it's doing. All right. Yeah. All right, you guys. Now, what let's do is instead of having the chord just play a solid pad, let's create a rhythm that it can play in our groove. And by running it into an envelope, we can do just that. So let's use the WMD Javelin envelope because it's a fantastic envelope. And let's go ahead and route the main output from our chord module into this envelope. And all we need to do now is we need some sort of a trigger signal to trigger the gate of the envelope. And I believe we're going to use another Mazatron Golden Shower for this today. For those of you who haven't been tuning into my live streams, my favorite rhythmic sequencer is the Mazatron Golden Shower 8-step sequencer. It's absolutely fantastic, and I have a video on that on this sequencer specifically. So if you haven't checked that out and you're into Eurorack, definitely check that out. I'm going to keep preaching this sequencer because it's really awesome to use, you guys. The Mazatron Golden Shower. Okay. I've got 6 of them. That's how much I like them. We're going to get a third one started here. And we're going to need to feed it the reset signal as well, so that it knows when the downbeat is, like all the rest of the sequencers. Now when I press stop and start, it's going in sequence with the other two, and it knows when the downbeat is. And basically, we can use this to create any sort of an 8-step rhythm sequence that we want, and use that to trigger the gate on this envelope. And when we do that, it sounds kind of like this. See about what we can do for some volume. Yep, C minor, C sharp minor, all right. I'm using the Mordax data as a tuner, but I actually feel like I'm kind of wasting a really powerful module to keep using this as a tuner. And I've recently picked up a second tuner, which isn't here yet because I don't have the room, but it's the L1 digital tuner, and it's like a silver module, and it looks quite a bit more like a guitar tuner. And I'm hoping to use that in the future as like my main tuner, so that I can kind of keep the Mordax data for either like as an oscilloscope, or to even use it as an oscillator as well. But right now I'm really relying on it as my tuner, and I kind of feel like I'm not getting enough out of it using it mostly as a tuner, if you get my drift. Yeah, so a different tuner is on the way, but it won't fit yet. I'm currently having a custom Eurorack case built, and it's going to be pretty large and fit some more modules than this. It should be coming in the next month or so, all things, being equal. So when that happens, I'll be using quite a few more different modules, hopefully. So we can change the rhythm that the chord is playing by just dialing the sequencer. We can have it play all 16th notes, and we can adjust, the envelope of that sound. That's the beauty of running it into an envelope. Let's go ahead and just leave that rhythm for now. That's cool, right? And then, yeah. If we move the waveform knob on the qubit chords module, we get some really nice movement on the chord itself. Listen to the chord here. In fact, I'll turn some things off for us. So it's just the bass and that chord here. Do you hear how it sounds? Almost like we're filtering the chord when I move this knob. The qubit chords module is built on wavetables, and you can scroll through these wavetables to change the way that the sound sounds, the timbre of the sound. And so, rather than me having to keep doing this in real time, let's go ahead and assign an LFO to the CV input here, so that we can get an LFO moving that knob in real time for us. I think what we'll do is take an LFO from the Oct module from DivKit, which is basically 8 triangle waveform LFOs that are not synced to tempo. We're going to go ahead and take a really gentle and slow LFO and get that to move this waveform knob on the chords module. But if I happen to route the LFO directly into that module, we're going to get the full range of movement on that LFO, and it's going to move that knob all the way from 0 to maximum. And if we don't want that full range of movement, all we have to do is route the LFO into an attenuator, which allows us to sculpt the amount of movement. And that's what we're doing now. I've run it into the Quadrat attenuator from IntelliGel, which gives me a knob to now adjust the range of movement that we're sending to the modulation. So if I max that out, and we send the full range of movement, and we listen for this chord, it's moving very slowly. But you hear how the chord is evolving and almost disappearing? We don't want quite that much movement on it, so I'll turn the knob down on the attenuator so that the range of movement isn't quite so much, Hear it moving now? And now it's starting to go back down. That gives us a little bit more extra life to this chord sound. And to even give it a little bit more life, let's add some reverb to this, shall we? Instead of running that dry chord sound directly into the mix, let's go ahead and change that. Let's put a splitter cable in instead, which is now giving me 2 outputs to route this sound. And I'm going to route the first output directly into the mixer where our original output was going, so we can hear our sound again, no problem, right? But we also want to route this into some reverb, so we can get a little bit of extra life on this sound. Hey, cool. Do you guys hear that extra reverb layer now? That's coming from the Desmodus Versio reverb from Noise Engineering. I really, really like the way this reverb sounds. I mean, it just sounds magic whenever you run through it. And I think what we'll do is maybe utilize that trick that I was talking about earlier, where we adjust the tone knob with an LFO, so we get some more built-in movement to the patch by sculpting the shape of the tone of this reverb. And what we can do is we can literally just take another output from the Oct module, again, 8 triangle waveform LFOs. Thanks, DivKit. This module is fantastic. We can route that into an attenuator so that we have control over the range of the LFO. And then we can send this LFO into the tone of the reverb. So we're modulating that knob in real time without me having to actually stand here and do it. Tone. Cool. Now again, if I turn this knob all the way up, that will give us the full range of movement on that tone knob. So it can even really make the reverb disappear. We don't want that much range of movement, so we're going to turn the attenuator way down so that it's just moving a little bit. Anytime that I can add those subtle little bits of modulation to the sound, where they're moving maybe just ever so slightly on their own, all of these things start adding up, and the patch will start to sound a lot more alive and a lot more organic if you take the time to assign little bits of modulation wherever you can. Because at the end of the day, I've only got 2 hands to move these knobs in real time. So whenever we can get the system moving for us automatically is all that much better. I think what we'll do at this point, yeah, the Dreadbox module series is pretty nice, Martin. The thing is that I got the Hysteria oscillator, and I haven't really been able to get it to work as advertised. They're supposed to be quantized to semitones, so that pretty much, you know, when you press a C, it's going to play a C. But my Hysteria module really wasn't in tune, and when I followed the procedures on their videos about how to get it calibrated while quantized or unquantized, I could never really get it to be super quantized. So at the end of the day, it was kind of a letdown for me, the Hysteria module. I'm going to keep working on it, keep seeing if I can get it to stay in tune, because conversely, something like the Mazatron Wavemorph VC DCO oscillator that I just put out a video on yesterday, this thing has a quantize on it, and it always stays in perfect tune. If I turn the quantize on and hit a C, it puts out a C. It's just that simple. It really works as advertised, and I absolutely love that feature of this oscillator, the Wavemorph oscillator from Mazatron. Not only does it put out lots of really neat and unique looking waveforms, but it just plain and simple stays in key. And I definitely give it a big thumbs up for that. All right. Let's see if we can, oh, we're looking good today. Let's Let's see if we can add a clap so we can get some sort of a, like a push and a pull to the rhythm and not just a push. Fantastic. I believe I have some claps loaded up in one of the Tip Top Audio 1 sample modules that we've got here. Let's find out. Getting a little tight down here. All right. How about this one? There we go. Oops, that's my ride. Alright, so I've got a module here that has a card loaded into it with a whole bunch of claps sounds. And what we'll do is go ahead and just get that routed, and then we'll scroll through some clap sounds and pick something that we like. Let's go ahead and make it right off the jump so that we'll be able, it's getting pretty short here, so that we'll be able to turn the clap sound on and off. So I'm going to go ahead and route this into the DivKid Mutes module with all of my other sounds here. I have 2 of the mute modules. Each of them has 4 switches, so I can get a total of 8 tracks to turn on and off really easily by routing things through those. And let me just finish routing that to the little mixer here. Cool, rent is input number 3 this time. Good deal. Okay. And what let's do is let's go ahead and maybe just use another golden shower. It's going to be the golden shower day. We're going to use another golden shower sequencer to sequence the clap. So I'm going to run our clock input into there, and I'm also going to run the reset signal so that it knows when the downbeat is. We've got to keep everything in sync with rhythm-based music. Cool. Now that sequencer is in time with all the rest of the sequencers, and I can just dial in where I want the clap to land. Hold on a second here. I see. The bass line is in such a way that it's got my brain not understanding where the proper 1 is. That's interesting. So we have a serious question now, and that is, do I start sequencing the other sounds to match where this bass line is putting the downbeat, or do we just randomize and find another bass line which emphasizes the downbeat better? That's an interesting one. I think what I'll do, let me test this out. I think it's here. This is going to be interesting. All right. Whoop. Trying to get this sequence here to put the clap where I want it, and we'll go ahead and route this signal into the clap so we can hear it. See, so now it sounds like the clap is on the wrong beat, but the clap is actually on the right beat. It's our bass line that's giving our brain the idea where the downbeat is, and based on the notes that it is spitting out randomly, it doesn't quite sound the way we need it to sound. And I think the way to approach this is to reshuffle our bass line, seeing as how we're just working with the power of random. If I hit shuffle enough times, something else will jump out at us, and then we can get something where the downbeat is really the downbeat. And then we'll add that crash cymbal that I like to use, which really helps us emphasize the downbeat and stay on the grid. All right, let's do that. Level looking good over there. Are we too loud at home? Let me turn it down just a touch. How's that? I don't want to be distorting anyone's speakers. Hey, Josh. Thanks for sticking around, everyone. I think we got a pretty good groove going here. We just need to shuffle this bass so it really emphasizes that downbeat more. Ooh, I like that, but not as the main one. That's another neat thing about the power of random with something like the Mimetic Digitalis. If I just hit load and shred, it just randomizes the CV output that we're putting out. But I'm running that through a quantizer so that our notes are stuck to a melodic scale. So anything it puts out is going to be musical on some level. And it's up to us to decide which are more musical than others and which we like. The pattern it just spit out, I think, is a neat pattern. It just doesn't work for the main pattern. So I'm saving that into slot 4 on the Mimetic Digitalis, so we can get back to this kind of funky bass part if we want to. Let's shuffle again and still try to find a main bass line that works for us and the groove that we've got put together. A little too many high frequencies in this one. Yeah, let me shuffle some more. 2, 3, 4, 1. Yeah, that's the one. There we go. I'm going to save that into slot 1 as our main bass line. And then bum, bum. It kind of gives us a vibe as to where that downbeat is. See my hand here? Emphasizing that downbeat. That's much better. And the clap sort of feels like it's in the right place now. See if we can't get... Oh, our frequency content is looking magical. Oh, we're going to zoom in on that for a second. I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about there. Cool. Yeah, I'm going to bring the decay up on that noise hat just a little. Okay, check this out, you guys. Take a look at this content here when I'm not talking. This is our frequency spectrum, you know, from low frequencies, middle frequencies, and high frequencies. And the goal when using a plugin like the tonal balance control, this is sort of a window for what they consider to be the average levels harmonically for bass-heavy music, which is definitely something that we're creating. And as we run our signal into this, we sort of want our line to be around the middle of that section if we can, and nothing sticking out or being too low. And I think we've got a really good balance of frequencies going. That's really nice, especially considering that we don't really have any EQ modules in this particular system. EQ isn't really a common like module. I've seen a few, and there's actually a new one from Happy Nerding or something like that that looks really amazing, but I don't really have any EQ modules. I have a couple of filters, and we're not even using those. So we're literally with 0 EQ and 0 filtering, we're already getting our frequency content in line. This is why sound selection is so important, and why I like to keep the visual up at all times when I'm working. So that, for instance, if I have picked a sound that has weird frequencies that I can't really hear maybe, but they're getting us out of where we need to be, that I'll see that on the visual and then pick a different sound to work with. Can't stress that enough. All right. Well, maybe at this time we could see if we could add in a sound from the Dark Star today, because I kind of meant to do that last week and we didn't do that, I believe. Yeah, this is an awesome one, right, Sean? We got really lucky. This groove is fantastic. I'm totally vibing this. We got our bass line in line. I can even tweak the bass and get silly. All right. Let's see here. I think maybe it would be great if we could find, I don't know, some sort of a cool sound in the virus. See if I can move this a little closer while we're doing this, so it's not just a look at my back. Oh, C sharp, right. Whoa, that's the thing when you're dealing with, you know, somebody else's work on patch banks. One of the things that I run into a lot with instruments and patch banks is that the volumes of sounds haven't been evened out. That's one of the things that I usually take quite a bit of extra time to do in my patch banks for synthesizers, is make it so when you're scrolling through sounds, the levels are, you know, some level consistent. So I apologize if some of these sounds are ridiculously loud and some are ridiculously quiet. That's just one of the, you know, pitfalls of trying to scroll through sounds in real time. Ooh, that's kind of nice. Way too loud, sorry. That's a little too disco vibing for me, I think. Unfortunately, I'm really only, you know, practiced at playing synthesizer in the key of F minor. That's just sort of a, you know, limitation that I personally have. So it takes me a little bit of extra time to figure out how to get a melodic content part in when we're in a different key. So bear with me and we'll figure something out. I can record that in boom, 3, 4, 2, and 4, 2, 3, and Now last week also, I found out that while the Virus Darkstar sounds really loud in my headphones, it did not sound very loud at all in the actual stream. So I'm going to turn the volume up now. Can you guys hear this sound that we've just added? Or does it need to be louder? I appreciate that, Nils, and I actually have a little silly system that I use to kind of count. I usually work in the minor scale, so whatever note is the root note, I know that if I count up 3 semitones and then another 4 semitones from that, then I'm making a minor chord. I also know that if I go down 2 semitones from the root note and hold that note in addition to the chord, that it's like a 7th. My theory is a little bit subpar per se, but I have a numbering system that kind of helps me keep things in key. If we're not in F minor, can you guys hear that? That sort of, is that coming through? And does it sound okay? Does it sound loud enough? Yeah, exactly right. Sounds good on the speakers. Thanks, Ed. A little softer on the Darkstar. Okay, cool. Oh. So this is cool. We've got 3 different. This is why I need to keep all of my modules so specifically in key, because I'm typically not trying to just write something that sounds good. I'm typically trying to write something that is, in fact, in key. Here we have a bass sound, And we've also got the chords sound, so 2 different modules that are playing nicely with each other because I got them tuned. And then also now we're able to add something, I think this is a really important thing to note as well, is that even I think a lot of people when they're working with Eurorack are only concerned with, the patch is sounding in key with itself, but what key is that, so and so? Well, I have no idea, it just sounds okay. And that's a perfectly fine way to work. But I want to be able to add in the outside elements. Like I want to be able to play a C sharp minor chord on the Dark Star and know that that's what key we are in. You know what I mean? So here we've got, 2 different modules and an outside thing, which is the difference between sounding in tune over here and actually being in tune with the Western scale that makes sense so we can bring in outside gear. That's a whole other kettle of fish and something that you really don't see very many Eurorack artists participating in. They're typically just trying to get their system in tune with itself and not with that real world Western scale, which is one of the reasons why I have to take so much extra time with the tuning. You can hear the benefit of doing that when we start getting things really layered and sounding groovy. Get that ride cymbal a tiny bit louder now that we've got more elements in the mix. Yeah. Yeah, I can't mess with that guitar layout either. I can play chords and whatnot on the guitar, but I'm not really a lead guitarist. With that fretboard, but you can't win them all. All right. Yeah, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and get that impact sound in on the downbeat of the first beat of every 8 bars, giving us kind of like a feeling of a repeating cycle. Those of you who've been tuning in know I'm all about this little trick to help us stay on the grid, and it's definitely something that I encourage you to use in your music as well. Something to help you stay on the grid. What we're going to do is this is one of my favorite uses for the Mazatron clock divider module, because if I take a divided by 128 clock and I use that as a trigger to trigger an impact sound, that impact sound by default will just now trigger on the downbeat of every 8 bars. It's absolutely a fantastic way to trigger this. All we need now is just a way to plug that in so we can hear it. And let's see. I'm using the Disting EX Alpha module as a sample player today, and I've got the impact sound loaded into that module already. So we've just run a trigger in there from the clock, and now we'll just wait for it. Whoops. If I run it out of the proper output, that might be helpful. Waiting for the impact sound. Two, three, four, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. Finding a way to stay on the grid. 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, and 8. Here it comes now. So every 8 bars, that crash is gonna play and give us a sense of a grid and timing. So this is sounding pretty groovy, but it would be nice if we could change it up and maybe go back and forth between some different sections of a groove. So because we're creating the bass line with the power of random in the mimetic digitalis, and we've got this saved into slot 1, I'm just going to go ahead and scroll the bass line again with the power of random here and see if we can find another version of this bass line that also works with everything else we've got going. Almost. I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and save that into our second slot. Now we've got 2 different bass patterns. Let's try to randomize this again and create a third bass pattern. Fantastic. That totally grooves along with the pattern. Save into the third slot. And if you remember, there was kind of a jazzy pattern that I've already saved in the 4th slot. Let's go back to that. 3, 2, 3, 4, 4. Let's try number 4. Cool. So now I can scroll that bass line in real time and change what it's doing. This is why we use that impact. 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, and 8. Let's change the bass. And 7, 2, 3, 4, 8, 2, change the bass. And see how we bring tracks on and off in time with that impact sound that's going through the background there? That's what I mean by sticking to the grid. This is a fun one. Hey, 23 people hanging out for the patching. Thanks a lot for joining me, everyone. If anyone has any questions at all, whether they be modular related or other music production related, please feel free to ask those. I'll do my best to answer. All right. Let's go ahead and make it so that we can turn this awesome chord sound on and off at our will, shall we? Yeah, cool. No, it's not expected. So we'll try here first then. Yeah. Come on. Now, let's not forget also that the pattern, the rhythmic pattern of that chord is being created with the golden shower sequencer. Just trying to remember which one it is. But what this means is that we can change the rhythm on that melodic pattern really easily. Cool. Did we make it so we can turn everything on and off? We don't have it so we can turn the virus on and off. But I can come over here and I can mute the MIDI that's controlling that using the Digitact. Or we could take the time to route the output of that sound into one of the DivKit mute modules so we could turn it on and off as well. You can hear that I've still got that crash symbol going in the background. I don't usually make a way to turn that on and off because I'm usually keeping it in. Ooh, on the grid with the kick. Come on. You gotta love it when you can just stay on the grid. Everything should be in like sections of 4, 8, 16, or 32 so that your audience can really, get into the groove that you're laying down and anticipate when those changes are coming. 6, 7, and 8. Let's change the bass. And 1, 2, change it up. And bring that ride cymbal back. And pause the kick drum. 2, 3, bring it back. Let's change the bass line in 2, 3, 4. Now, one of the things that I was going to do today that we didn't really actually end up doing was I was going to program quite a few of the drum sounds using the Digitact. Instead, we used quite a few sequencers in the modular system. But had I been programming the drum sounds with the Digitact instead of these sequencers, we could then start programming different drum patterns that we could scroll back and forth between, the same way that I'm able to scroll back and forth between different bass lines. So everything is kind of a give and take as to how we choose to set it up. For instance, if I did program things that way, I wouldn't be able to change any of these things in real time like we can now. Like the chord part. Yeah, almost Detroit, right, Russ? I agree. Boy, I tell you what, Bob Marley was right. When the music hits you, you feel no pain. I don't know if you remember when we first started the live stream, but I had announced that I pulled a muscle in my neck just a few minutes before the stream. It hasn't really been bothering me because I've been focused on the music, if you know what I mean. Come on. This is a smooth groove. We can change that bass in 2, 3 now. Trying to decide if we should add something else today. I mean, it's so groovy and we're able to kind of ebb and flow with it a little bit, but it might be neat if we could have, I don't know, another melodic element. It's been going so well. I'm worried that if I, try to push it a little further, we might not have such good luck with it. I don't know. It's pretty tempting, though. I think, see, we've been going for about an hour and a half. Maybe we'll give it a go. Here's what let's do. Let me take the pitch output here. Actually, get a longer cable. We take the pitch output from the Poly in to Poly 2 module and run that into a Mazzatron Wavemore VC DCO. Okay. And let's see here. We're going to take the output of that VCO into an envelope. And we're going to take the gate output and run that into the envelope. I'm setting it up so that I can play the Mazzatron oscillator using the Dark Star here. Hopefully, that's the intention. And just need a way to hear this back now. This is a really funky groove today. All right. I think somebody mentioned up-tempo funk. I think we pretty much got there, yeah? I mean, if I had some of that, Jamie, we need some of that guitar. That's what we need. Like some wah 70s over this. Oh, come on. You guys know that would be awesome. All right. Let's continue making this happen, shall we? This is going to be the first time that I've done this, so hopefully we will get it to work, because that would be great. And let's see here. Okay. Let me go ahead and turn some of these other tracks off. Okay. Let's see here, but I want to be here. I'm definitely triggering the envelope. So what do I want to do here? I want to basically, yeah. Am I in key, guys? I think that might be. Let's see if we can just put a really simple bass part in. 2, 3, and. If anybody who has fantastic ears can tell me what you think, if we're in key or not, that'd be awesome. I'm pretty sure we are there. Let's go ahead and change this envelope up a little bit, maybe. Cool. And let's go ahead and take this and run it into a filter so we can get rid of some of these high frequencies and make it a little bit more like a bass sound, yeah? Although we already have a bass sound in the mix, really. Let's go ahead and give this sound some reverb, shall we? So it's not quite so dry. Yeah. Cool. Maybe this one here. Yeah. Ooh, come on. Just something in the background, another layer we can kind of bring in and out, maybe. Can't decide what octave I prefer the sound in. That's kind of cool right there. Or is it better an octave down, maybe? Ooh, maybe I'll just flip back and forth. That sounds nice both ways. All right. We can add our Dark Star sound back in. Get the whole mix going. Maybe bring that new sound down in the mix just a little bit. There we go. So it's more of a background sound supporting our other lead sounds. Cool. Two, three, and yeah. This is a pretty funky one today. What do you think, yeah? All right. Come on. Changing up the bass line. Two, three, and make it so we can mute this sound. Let's do that. Cool. Go ahead and route this into the mixer here. Alright, now we'll be able to turn that new melodic pattern on and off in real time. Come on. So we can get rid of this one here. Maybe change the pattern on the chords. Bring the octave up on the sound. Come on. Come on. Looking really, really nice on our balance I've got it set up so that we could take sounds from the Dark Star today, as well as sounds from the Digitact. Although we didn't end up taking any sounds from the Digitact, we're just using the system today, mostly samples and sample modules like the Tip Top Audio 1 sampler, which I'm a big fan of. I really like being able to bring in the outside instruments like this to the system, like being able to bring in the Dark Star. Let's go ahead and shuffle and randomize this bass line again. That's a nice one. Let's go ahead and save that into slot number 5 and randomize it again. 1, 2, 1, 2, randomize. Not really a winner. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, let's go. That one's all right. Let's go ahead and save that into slot number 6. And 1, 2, and 1, 2, change the bass. Hey, thanks, Ed. Yeah, this is definitely one of the more, I don't know, I don't want to say Dean-esque, but this is definitely something that would really float my boat, you know what I mean? That smooth, kind of glassy techno sound. Absolutely. Can change that rhythm pattern on the chords again. Get something really creative happening. Not really versed in C# minor. I really like the way this has come together today. I don't really think we need to add more elements to this because I think we've got a pretty thick, solid groove. A good rule of thumb that I learned quite a bit of time ago was like once you've got more than like 5 or 6 different elements going on in your track at the same time, you've got too many elements going on. And if you want to add something else to that, you're probably going to want to take something away so that it's not super busy. And I think we've got just the right amount of elements here. If this was something that we were going to now progress further, I think what I would try to do is come up with ways to create different patterns rather than try to add more sound content on top of what we have. Because it sounds pretty even and pretty full. The tonal balance control is really happy with me, so that's awesome. You can roll that chord and really get it going. You can change that clap, you know. Definitely one of the benefits that I like about using the Mazatron Golden Shower sequencers is the ability to do just what we're doing here and change the rhythms in real time. I can also roll the knob all the way to the left and sort of zero out the sequencer, which essentially acts as a mute. Okay, here it is. So if I roll the sequencer all the way to the left, that's controlling the envelope to our chords. We don't hear the chords anymore. But I haven't really muted the chords chords, I've just taken away the rhythm that's triggering its envelope. And we can just scroll to a new destination, 3, 4. And it just will land somewhere randomly. You can create an 8-step pattern that's any combination of those 8 steps. So 256 possible variations in the Golden Shower sequencer. And let's scroll it again. 2, 3, scroll it. Let's do that again. 1, 2, change that chord pattern. Let's work with this for a few. We're gonna let it go the full 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll scroll it now. Whoops, I'll stand on the chord. But you hear how we change the rhythm that the chord is putting out? And we'll do it again now. If you create parts that work really well rhythmically, like something where you're triggering an envelope, you can really get creative and just change that pattern and keep the flow, but still changing that pattern. On the grid now. Five, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, and we'll bring that synth back. And we'll pause the kick. Then we'll get ready to change the bass in 1, 2. Let's change the bass. Let's change the rhythm of the chords. Let's get jiggy with the clap in 1, 2, and let's get jiggy with the clap. And we'll change the bass now. Change the clap and the chords, 2, 3, 4. And we'll mute the clap now. We're going to change the bass line and the chord pattern in 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8. We're on the grid. Let's get jiggy with the clap. All right, jiggy. 2, 3, 4, and we'll make a variation. Get ready to change that bass again. 2, 2, 3, 4. Let's change it up. I appreciate that, Ed. Thanks, Nils. Thanks, Joshua. I think we're going to go ahead and get ready to call it for today. We've been streaming for about an hour and 50 minutes, and we came up with a really amazing groove this week, I think, all things said and done. I'm going to hang out for just a few more minutes. If anyone has any music production related questions of any kind, please drop those in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. Come on. Hey, all right. Yeah, if you hit that little bell notification on the channel, it should alert you when I upload a video or go live, I believe. But you have to click that little bell icon next to the subscribe icon to get notified when I put out a new video or when I'm going live. But for the record, it's every Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're doing patch labs, having a lot of fun. We're pulling all of the cables, and I'm patching something from scratch every Sunday. I try to go slow and make it super beginner friendly. Not only do I talk about what I'm doing every step of the way, but I also talk about why I'm doing it every step of the way. And a lot of these concepts you'll find will transfer over to music production in any environment or any DAW, not just modular synthesis. That's my hope anyway. All right. I think we're going to go ahead and call it for this week, but we will be back. Actually, we might not be back next week. This is as good a time as any to announce that I'm being scheduled to do another live show. This is going to be, I think, the 29th of December, I want to say. I might have that date wrong, but I might not be doing the patch labs for the next 2 weekends specifically. I haven't decided yet. It sort of depends on how my preparation for this show goes. My intention is to create a set, a 20-minute set that I can do with just the modular system. I might have a few more extra pieces, definitely the access virus, and maybe a few more other things will be involved in that. But that's sort of my schedule for the next couple of weeks, is to build that set for that show. So it's probably going to be a little bit lighter on the video content because I've been going full time on the video content these last couple of months, trying to really push over the 10,000 subscriber mark for the end of the year. It doesn't look like we're going to get there, but that'll probably happen in January or February. We're really, really close. If you're watching now and you're not subbed to the channel, give me a sub to the channel, hit that bell button so you get notified when I go live every Sunday for a Eurorack patch lab. But yeah, we might just do something else live instead of the Eurorack. We might do like a Digitact live stream or something like that, because I really need to spend the next 2 weeks building this live set. It's my first attempt to try to do a live show using the Eurorack only. So let's really, if you've got any extra karma, send some my way so this goes smoothly. I really need it to. I might actually also just do a live stream or two over the next couple of weeks talking about the building process of that set. Again, it just sort of depends on how things go and whether that goes smoothly or not. Hopefully it will, and hopefully I'll be able to pull this off. I think I've given myself enough time in which to do so. Um, but I think that's going to do it for today. I really appreciate you all hanging out with me. Thanks, Gaz. Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Nils. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Joshua. Everybody. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Jamie. Did I say Jamie? Thanks, Sky Tortoise Ferryman. Thanks, Tony. I really appreciate you guys joining me on these. It makes it a whole lot more fun than just doing this by myself with no chat. So, yeah, until next time. Thanks for watching.